Are you ready to launch your podcast? It's time for Podcast Now with Restream, the live show that helps you plan, produce, and launch your podcast with the power of Restream. Here's your host, Ian Anderson Gray.
Well, hello. Welcome to episode 7 of Podcast Now with Restream. Today, it's all about live streaming and podcasting audio tips. And I'm very excited because I'm joined by my good friend, Mike Russell, who is Mr. Audio. He knows so much about audio and I can't wait to bring him onto the show. We're going to be talking about all of those things. So, of course, let me know all of your questions. Just pop them in the comments. But first, of course, let me know where in the world you are watching from. Do not be shy because we are very much a social show and we love to hear from you. So what are you wanting to do in the world of podcasting and live streaming when it comes to audio? You know, I think sometimes we can think so much about the video quality that we forget about the audio. And in my opinion, I'm sure Mike would agree with me, you know, it's if the video is kind of not that great, but the audio is fine on a live stream, your audience will stick with you. However, if the video is amazing and they can't hear you, they're going to switch off. Your audience are going to switch off. So we're going to be talking about how to up your audio game. Just to let you know, as always, this show is powered by Restream. So you can find out more about Restream, if I can find the button, at iag.me/Restream, where you can get a whole month completely free. This allows you to broadcast to over 30 different destinations all at the same time. And you can do what I'm doing, use Restream Studio. All you need to do is go there and you can have up to 9 guests on your show. You can do what I did and send your guest the guest link 20 minutes before your live show when I should have done it a couple of hours ago. I'll try and be a bit more organized next time. But it's so easy to use. You just give the link to your guest and bring them on. You can highlight comments, of course, across all those different destinations. It is awesome. Right, just before I bring in Mike, let's have a look of who we've got watching live. So we've got my living room live watching from Ontario, Canada. Awesome, great to see you here. And you're also saying we produce a live music entertainment live stream, so we're all about audio. Awesome, I'm so glad you're here, and I'd love to know a little bit more about what you do. We've got, who have we got here? We've got Nando Gonzalez. Unfortunately, my Spanish is not very good. I need to get my daughter upstairs. She is pretty good with Spanish, but there we go. But do keep those comments coming. Let me know where in the world you're coming from. So we're going to be talking about audio in this show. So, do you want to sound amazing on your live shows? I think you do. And we're going to be showing our top tips on today's show. And I'm joined by Mike Russell. We're going to be talking about microphones, audio gear, and just basically how to sound awesome. So let you know a bit more about Mike. Mike is the creative director of Music Radio Creative. And I have to say, the awesome intro music that we have is from Music Radio Creator. So thank you, Mike, for all of your amazing audio things. Audio production is Mike's life. Mike is passionate about helping you to sound great. He presents a weekly live stream and releases regular videos on his YouTube channel about producing podcasts, cleaning up audio, improving the sound of your voice, creating music, sound design, and more. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. What intro. Amazing. I'm so honoured to be here. I want to talk about audio.
Well, thank you, Mike. I'm glad you said that because it's been a bit of a day, it has to be said. We as I was saying to you just before we started, we're about to move house, and yeah, as you well know, there's a lot of things that have to happen. So
it's very stressful.
Yeah, but fun and exciting. I like to turn the emotion of stress into excitement.
It's a very good thing to do. Definitely. And you've got the added benefit that you'll be moving your video and set up camera and everything that's connected. But fortunately, you're doing it all through Restream. You've got it all in. You just have to move the computer and camera, and you're up and running again.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm going to be copying you, stealing an idea from you, and if that's okay, Mike, and share my process of building my new studio, because it's a new room, so I'm excited about. I've bought a standing desk, and it's going to be fun.
Oh, let's talk about keeping fit. I've just got a turbo trainer for my bike. Awesome. I was going to do the podcast on that. I thought actually a podcast audio, noisy turbo whirring up. It's going to be the best thing.
That is awesome. Well, I think keeping fit is incredibly important. We could talk about the importance of being fit for live streaming another time, maybe, but it's very important. So unfortunately, we are there's a little bit of echo we are having. So we are maybe having some technical problems. That was one of the things we're having. So, but hopefully we can, yeah, I don't hear any echo from you, but people are hearing echo from you, Mike. But, oh well.
I've got reverb on my desk. I can talk like this.
Yes. Yeah, that's what Chris Moody is saying. Maybe it's a special effect.
Couldn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe, Mike, you can kind of look down at your mixer and see if there's a few other settings that you can tweak as we go along. But, that's what we get sometimes on live streaming. Sometimes things don't go according to plan, do they? You have to keep carrying on.
Exactly.
So, but I really appreciate you coming on the show, Mike. And Mike has helped me so much with audio over the years. Whenever I've got a problem with audio, I ask Mike. He's my go-to person. You must be fed up with me now, Mike. But
no, not at all. I love it. Absolutely love help. So you've got a great. You'll probably have to again when you move. Because as you know, every different room has different sticks, different needs. If you have the same gear, you'll have to tweak it to get it sounding just right for the new room that you're in. And hopefully your room will be a shoebox shape. So essentially, probably an acoustic dream. If you've got big glass windows or an L-shaped room or anything like that, you're going to be in trouble. Well, not necessarily in trouble. You can do something. You can get some nice sound tiles, acoustic tiles. It's just more of a challenge. What kind of shape is your room going to be in the
kind of rectangular? It's relatively small, but it's rectangular. Yeah.
Fantastic. So you will be excellent. You'll be good.
Yeah. Well, I might be contacting you. We'll see. Oh, that's good. My living room, sorry, let me get this right. My living room live says, yay, it's fixed. So that's good. I don't think you did anything, but no. I did do something on my end. I clicked on, so in Restream, there is in audio, this is under advanced settings. I don't normally switch this on, but it was obviously helped. Echo cancellation and noise suppression. So there we go. I'm glad we fixed it. So whatever, it's just sometimes these happens, and actually it's a good just briefly with Restream Studio, it's great that you have those features. Often you don't need those features, but the other thing that you can do is I can put Mike's audio down. So Mike, you just say something. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
Well, actually, I had Weetabix, and it was a very interesting episode because we've recently got chocolate Weetabix with little chocolate chips in, but I much prefer the original Weetabix. 2 of those standard token biscuits with banana chopped on top and some soya milk or almond milk will do me just perfectly.
Very, very nice. I'm impressed. Well, I don't know whether anyone else saw that or heard that, but I put your audio down. I kind of decreased your audio through that and then up again. So you can do this in Restream Studio. So if your guest is too quiet or too loud, you can adjust the volumes. So that's good. We've got lots of messages here about the fact that we've fixed it, and I like this. This is great from my living room live. So it's like an ad for how easy it is to use Restream Studio to eliminate issues. I promise you, this was not deliberate. I promise you, it wasn't.
It's all live. Things go wrong live, right?
Yes,
that's part of it.
Yeah, thank you. And somebody on LinkedIn, I can't see who you are, probably because of permission issues, but good to know Restream has this feature. We are broadcasting to lots of different channels, and I know that you with your show, you're quite into multi-streaming as well, aren't you? We will get onto audio, but you and how do you find broadcasting to lots of different places at the same time?
I think it's absolutely fantastic. I use Restream, and I've got the Restream chat app open, so I can combine our audience across, say, YouTube and Facebook, and we've got a growing audience on Twitch as well, which is really nice to see. And people will post comments, but you can see those across the various platforms, which is great. And just people like to watch in different locations. I mean, the base of my audience happens to be on YouTube. It's just because of the fact that I've been on YouTube for, my goodness, over a decade now. So that's kind of built up over time. But Facebook is great for discoverability, I find. People are just scrolling through their feeds and they see, two mad people talking and waving their hands and kind of click it to listen what it's about. And then Twitch, again, it's got a big community of gamers. And then there's so many platforms. I wish I had time to explore every single platform that Restream supports, but each one seems to have its own, major thing. There are obviously the big platforms you should be on, and then you can go to like these niche platforms and you can be live in, in South Korea or in Africa or wherever. And I think it's amazing. So I just wish I had the time to sign up and get every platform tweaked perfectly.
I think I've signed up for quite a few of them, but there has to be a limit. I mean, there are over 30 destinations that Restream does. You see, this is the annoying thing. So you're getting quite a good number of people watching on Twitch. Well, we've just got a comment from Twitch, but it's a spam one. So there we go. Want to be famous? Buy followers, primes, and viewers on. No, we just don't do that kind of thing. So, and I just want to say hello, by the way, if you are in my Launch Your Live course, we're also streaming into that group today. So welcome. It's great to see you here. This is the show that I do with Restream every week on podcasting. So Mike, you've done so many, you've done lots of podcasts, you do lots of live streaming. Why is audio so important? And what are the first few things that we can think about in terms of like leveling up the quality of our audio, apart from clicking the button that says echo cancellation?
Or noise cancellation. Yeah, it's a really good question, Ian. And actually, I just discovered this study that was carried out fairly recently by the Australian National University, and they were specifically looking into lectures and the authority of lecturers, and the fact that if their lectures were recorded in poor quality, so if a scientist was like giving a lecture on something really important and they were really super smart and they had the best stats, and everything like that, but the audio was terrible, they tend to lose authority and trust. So this is an actual thing that happened. So you can imagine if that applies to, lecturers at universities, just imagine how it applies to us as content creators trying to get across our message, build trust and build an audience. Again, the same thing applies. We are going to lose trust. We're going to lose that authority. We might be saying the best thing on the planet. We might be the best at what we do in the world. But if we sound terrible, we're not going to get our message across. So I think that's the answer to the first part of your question.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I think I would agree with you. And I think maybe video is important if you're scrolling down the feed, particularly on Facebook, and if like the videos might kind of, if it's really good, it might kind of like pop out at you and you click on it. But then if you want to get people to stay with you, the audio obviously has to be really good quality. And I think that's what we all want, isn't it? We don't want people just to watch us for a couple of seconds. We want people to listen or watch for as much of our shows as possible. We want that retention rate to be higher. So yeah, thank you for that, Mike. And I actually can't remember what the second question was that I was going to ask you.
Maybe some tips on sound better, or how can we start?
Yeah, it was how. Thank you. I'm glad you're on the ball today, Mike.
I'm absolutely not blaming you. I know what moving house is like. Yeah. I can just run with it.
And now Mike is going to take over the show. But yeah,
I'll interview myself. So Mike,
how do you get started? Come on, Mike. Let us know all the secrets.
Yeah, so like the very first thing is hopefully you'll have got yourself a nice microphone. It doesn't have to be super nice. We're not talking $1,000. $100 to $200 generally is a sweet spot. And, so that is where I would get started. It can be USB or XLR. We could talk a bit more about the different connector types if you like later. But the biggest tip I can give you is just get closer to a microphone. So That's not always good if you're doing a show that's video based. You don't always want a big mic in front of you, but you can make any mic, even a $1,000 microphone, sound terrible by just getting further away from it. And if you're in a non-sound treated room, it really is going to sound bad. It's the same if you pick up your mobile and you're in selfie mode, it sounds good. Whereas if someone's filming you and holding the mobile, from a couple of meters away, it's going to sound a lot worse, particularly if you're in a room. So just get close to that microphone, get microphones positioned close to you. Yes, obviously condenser and dynamic mics, these big style mics are always going to sound the best because you're like, I'm literally on top of this. So, I can sound a lot worse if I move further away. But then if you don't want a big mic, you can have a shotgun mic, which is like this long, thin tube that can be just off the screen, or a lapel mic, which can be on or under your clothing. So there are ways around this, but proximity to the microphone, I think, is really important.
And that's really interesting. And this kind of divides, I think, the video and the live video community a little bit, because so both of us, we're very similar in our, we've got the microphone fully on shot, we're right up close, and I think it's because we think audio is really, really important. But for some people, they don't like the microphone in shot. They prefer to have it out, so they just don't want any of that tech on show. So you mentioned other options. You mentioned lapel mic and shotgun mics. Now, presumably, would you say they're not as good quality? Maybe take us through, are they okay? And, what could we look for when it comes to either a lapel mic or a shotgun mic?
Absolutely. So I'd say the thing that you're going to get with a mic like this, or a mic like you're using or, any of the big sort of popular USB style mics, which are microphones that plug straight into your computer using a USB connector. So very easy to set up. Those kind of mics will need to sit close to you. And they're going to give you that produced sound, that kind of radio sound, if you like, or on-air sound. Whereas if you want a more natural sound, obviously we're doing a podcast now, so that's the kind of idea. We have big mics and it's about audio. But if you're doing if video is your primary focus, which it is for most content creators, I think, live streaming, then you can go for microphones that can be out of shot or out of sight. And they are going to sound much better than many people who just get started with, their camera microphone. Or sometimes they'll mount a microphone on top of a camera, which isn't always a good idea because that camera might be sitting, 3, 4, 5 meters away from you. So you might think, I'm going to run out and I'm going to buy myself like one of those video microphones, which are really good, by the way, if you're close to them. And I'm going to mount it on my camera and that'll solve everything. But your camera is then 5 meters away. It's going to not sound good still. So you need to just get that mic, shotgun mics, lapel mics that go on the clothing near to you. And yeah, it won't quite be the same quality as this, but for doing live video, it's absolutely fine, very sufficient. And you can, of course, do tweaks in post when you get into your video editor of choice. Obviously, probably not with a live stream, but there are various ways that you can process audio in real time for a live stream. So we can talk about that too.
Definitely. And you need to check out Mike's YouTube channel because basically everything you want to know about post-production, pre-production, anything to do with Adobe Audition, Mike's your man. Every time I search for something to do with one of those things on YouTube, you pop up.
I'm there. Thank you.
There. Right. It's Mike telling me what to do. So that's great. And what we talk about mainly on this show is the idea of starting with a live stream and then repurposing that into a podcast. So I think if you do start with really good quality audio, and so I think that having it in shot, a nice microphone, we can talk about the differences between dynamic and condenser mics maybe and USB and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I think starting off with really good quality is important. Now, I can see Chris Moody's asking a question, and this brings us on nicely to the whole USB versus XLR thing as well. So maybe you could answer both of those things. But Chris Moody is saying, does putting the microphone through an audio mixer make it better than a straightforward USB plug-in? So I suppose the question is, do you just go for a simple USB microphone, or do you go for a microphone that you can plug into a mixer? Does the mixer itself help?
No, the mixer itself does not help. There's no difference apart from the fact that with the mixer, you're converting an analog audio signal into a digital signal. And with USB, it is converting inside the mic and running digitally into your computer. But saying that, if you're using, a traditional mixer, you might have some knobs on there for EQ. You might have some knobs on there for compression. And you also have the possibility to insert other hardware, such as a microphone processor, in between the microphone and the mixer/audio interface that will convert that analog signal into digital. So you can do lots of real-time processing with traditional XLR connections that you can't really do with USB. You can, but it would have to be software-based processing. And some of the modern USB microphone vendors now are actually releasing their microphones bundled with software that specifically does this. I think it was PreSonus recently that released a microphone, and it comes with it literally comes with a button for presets on the mic, and that's connected to a piece of software that has like a broadcast preset and an echo preset and, all of that good stuff, male voice, female voice. So yeah, I mean, you can process with both. Just remember, USB, you'll be processing software. So make sure you have the computer hardware that can handle that, good CPU. Whereas analog, which is the way I like to work, it can all be done by boxes that you can buy and set up, and they're not gonna, if your computer crashes or glitches, it's not gonna go wrong because it's real-time live audio processing.
And I don't know about you, Mike, but I think I like to kind of take as much processing power away from my computer, because my computer can already overheat, if you're doing live streaming and all this other stuff. So I think it's probably good to do some of that outside. Do you need to get like a really expensive microphone then? Because I think you can get microphones that have USB and XLR. So you could maybe start off with USB, and then if you want to then buy a mixer later, you could use the same microphone later on. I mean, what would you suggest for microphones for people who are just getting started?
That's a really good idea. I really like what you said there, Ian, about the USB XLR combo. And I'm glad you mentioned it, because a lot of microphone manufacturers have recently taken that decision to start coming out with microphones that support both connections. And I think that is a positive thing, because if you are sitting in a studio like you and I are recording a podcast, I'd suggest you connect that microphone using an XLR cable, and you run it through an audio interface, a mixer, maybe a preamp that can add some compression and EQ in real time before the signal gets into your computer. And like you say, not rely on that computer's CPU. But then you have the added benefit of a USB connector, which then allows you to go out and about and record things with the same microphone using just a USB wire, which is really cool. And like you say, you could just get started with that very microphone using the USB connector straight into your computer. And then when you want to get into the world of XLR and audio interfaces, you can just buy yourself a very cheap XLR cable, which is an analog audio cable that connects the XLR connector, the 3-pin XLR connector on the back of the microphone, into your audio interface and then into your computer. So yeah, best of both worlds, really.
Definitely. So I think that's a good place to start. And, if all of these things are, your brain is exploding. If you're watching this and you're thinking, oh my goodness, what on earth is all of this? Then don't worry. You don't need to. That's what we're saying. And Mike's saying, you don't have to start with, audio mixers and boxes and all this kind of stuff. I think we all started, I'm sure, Mike, you would say the same. You just started probably fairly simple. And then over the years, you've increased it. And maybe you can give us a little tour of your studio in a bit, because those lights, I just love those lights, and we can talk about that.
Let me start the second camera. Am I allowed to do that? Yeah. And then I can give you a secondary view.
You can do that. While you're doing that, I'm just going to say hello to some people watching. So we've got Audiox watching on YouTube. We got Challenge ITV, who is watching on what used to be Periscope. And is now Twitter. So great to see you. Hello, Ian and Mike. Sorry, joining late from Twitter. You don't need to apologize. And also saying, for your information, I have bought a Rode Mini USB. Amazing piece of gear. Actually, you've corrected yourself. It's the Rode NT Mini. Good option with Rode Connect. Awesome. And you've also got a question for Mike. I'm going to ask Mike that question in a little second. I can also see that My Living Room Live says, I just can't wait until somebody comes out with a webcam with some DSLR features. That would be awesome. Yeah, because we have to. I mean, there's the Brio. The Logitech Brio is pretty good, but it's not the same as a DSLR. What cameras are you using then, Mike?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I am using all Sony Alpha cameras. So all of my cameras are Sony Alpha cameras. And yeah, I mean, they're really, really awesome. I've got the Sony Alpha A6300, which is quite an old model, but it does the job perfectly. I've got the 6100, the 6400, the Sony Alpha series. You can get even more advanced, but for my purpose, these are brilliant. They do have an overheating problem, but I did make a video on my YouTube channel talking about that overheating problem and how to solve it. And there are many ways you can do that. And I mean, these cameras stay on now for hours and hours. I've done 3-4 hours nonstop on these cameras. They have a clean HDMI output and they're really good. I'm really happy. And of course they got like really cool focus and, kind of bokeh effects. I can do that, which is really cool. I can hold things up to the camera. Just looks ace. It's better than a webcam. I used to use the like you mentioned, the Logitech Brio 4K, which is good. It's really good. But these cameras, these mirrorless cameras, I just find fab.
Yeah, and My Living Room Live says, I'm with you on this one. Would like to pick up Sony A cams, but just not in the budget for this year. And I've got a Canon M50 camera, which is fine. It has its issues, I think. And I think if I was starting again, if I had the budget, I would be absolutely getting one of these Sony Alpha cameras. I think that's the next thing though, Mike. I'm going to come back to you about the overheating problem and also solve that. So yeah, have you got your cameras then all sorted? Can you give us a little tour?
Pretty much, yes. I've got all the cameras in place. I've got a very, I'm not sure of the model, but I've got some Sony 4K camcorders. But there's an issue there with the color grading, switching between these mirrorless cams and those camcorders. So in my studio setup, I tend to stick to two Sony Alphas. I've got this one, which faces me head on. And then I've got this one as well, which is to the side. And there you can see a little bit of the background. You can see my processing unit. It's all blurred out in the background. But I've got all of my rack unit there that process my mic in real time. And I've got some Nanoleaf, which I haven't got on at the moment. So I'll switch the Nanoleaf on. For those listening, Nanoleaf are those triangles that light up and turn all different colors. And it looks very pretty. So I've got those running as well, Ian. And yeah, it's awesome. I love the setup.
Love it. I might have to get some of those for my studio. Oh, love it. Well, I can see Jason is saying, what's Jason saying? Jason Blake is saying, hey, gents, just started my streaming journey and I have a Sony a6100 as of yesterday. Ooh, very good. You're going to have some fun with that, I think. And Challenge ITV is saying Sony ZV-1 or ZV-1 is a great one. I haven't used that one myself, but I'm sure that's... sure that is the case. So we'll probably still a few things to talk about when it comes to microphones and stuff, but I do want to bring in this question that Challenge ITV asked a few minutes ago, which is any recommendations for software to record, for example, Audacity. So what you can do, just before I ask Mike about this, with your live stream, if you're using Restream Studio, at the end of it, you can then download the audio. Either you can download the video, you can download the audio, you can also download separate tracks. So I can download Mike's audio and my audio separately. So if Mike had a sneezing fit right now, we could cut
a really bad hay fever.
Yeah, it would be okay. So you download that, and then in order to make it into a podcast, we need to edit it, and this is where software comes into it. Now, tell us, Mike, what should we? Audacity is an option, isn't it? I mean, what would you think about Audacity and some of the other options out there?
Yeah, definitely. Audacity is a fantastic free option. In fact, I think it's the best free option available out there. So definitely worth a try. If we're talking about specifically recording, I mean, you can do it with anything. Apple users will already have included, I think, for free, GarageBand. So you might want to give that a go because it's pretty decent and gets the job done for recording. And then, of course, there's the software I use, which is Adobe Audition. That's a monthly payment for Creative Cloud, but I take advantage of Premiere Pro for video editing, After Effects, and all of that kind of good stuff. And then there's stuff like Reaper. If you want to pay a one-off fee, I've heard a lot of people talking and saying good things about Reaper. So there's that there available as an option too. And yeah, just basically do your research and see what you come up with. But I'm using Adobe Audition myself.
Yeah, love Adobe Audition. And there's another one which I haven't played around with much myself, but our friend Colin Gray has got this one called Alitu as well, which I think is an editor in the cloud. So there's other options as well. But yeah, like you, I think I was kind of dragged kicking and screaming towards using Adobe Audition. I'm really glad that I did it. There is definitely a learning curve, but I'm glad that I did learn that, because there's so much about it that once you learn the basics and you get into a routine, it's actually fairly straightforward. You just need to learn. There's that initial stage that you have to go through. My living room live. I love this from you, but like the topic would imply, great to have incredible visuals, but poor audio will make it unwatchable. So yeah, I would agree. I think focus on the audio first. Particularly if you are looking at turning this into a podcast, that is absolutely the most vital thing. It doesn't matter how many cool things you've got in your background if your audio isn't great. But in Mike's case, you've got awesome audio and an awesome background as well. So
thank you.
Jason's asking, this is more of a video question, but we'll see if we can answer this. Is there a clear difference between 720p and 1080p when streaming? I'll answer just briefly, and I'd just love to know what Mike thinks about this. First of all, not all streaming destinations support 1080p. YouTube definitely does, but LinkedIn Live doesn't. Facebook Live either does or it doesn't, depending on whether your page supports it. So in some cases, you can't even get 1080p. I would say when it's sometimes good to stream in 1080p, because the recording that you'll get at the end of it will be in 1080p. So for repurposing, it's good. But do you broadcast in 1080p, or do you go the whole hog and go 4K, Mike?
No, I'm still 1080p at the moment. I don't really notice a great deal of difference between 1080p and 720p. I think you'd probably notice if you were watching on one of those big widescreen TVs, you'd probably pick up that 720p is a little more grainy. I think it's also got to do with bitrate, hasn't it? Like usually YouTube says, 6,000 kilobits per second for 1080p is the standard, whereas it would maybe be half that for 720. So you're kind of halving the quality in a way. And 4K, I'm determined to do it at some point, but I need a really smooth, well-oiled system. So I need a really good card. The issue I have with 4K is not the ability to do it now, because I have 4K cameras. Although saying that, they probably have more of a heat issue if I set them to 4K. So I'm not sure about that. I've got a gigabit connection, so I can easily stream 4K up. But the issue I have is really hardware and finding the right piece of hardware to switch between 4K. What I've come across with many capture cards is that they tend to introduce a longer delay when you're capturing 4K. I don't know if you experienced that yourself, Ian. And then you kind of go out of sync, and then your lips are moving, but the speech is delayed and stuff. Have you experienced that?
I haven't done 4K really. I'm kind of, my computer is, let's not talk about my computer. I've had computer problems. But yeah, it's something I want to think about in the future. But yeah, I think I would say most people are probably fine with 720. But if you can cope with 1080, then do it. 4K though, yes, you need to have the right tech.
Yes.
Anyway, let's go back to audio. And so we've got a good microphone. So we talked a little bit about other units. I mean, what I've got, because so I used to use I've still got it, the DBX286S, and I really like it. This is a one that you recommend and you use, and it's a pre-processing unit. You can do loads or post, but it's a pre-processing unit, isn't it? So you can tell us more about it. And I really liked it, but I don't know. I just went over to the dark side, and I got a Rodecaster Pro, and I really like it. And it's
processing included.
Yeah, and it's great. It's great, but there's loads of different options. Some of them, I mean, the Rodecaster Pro is relatively expensive. It's about $500 or $600 dollars or pounds. So there are cheaper options. Can you take us through some of the options for us who want to obviously do live streaming, but where audio is really important, and we want to make podcasts from our live streams?
So hardware equipment that will help you to sound better.
Yeah, basically. So you got your microphone, but what else would you recommend?
Yeah, so really a couple of things there that you mentioned in. Definitely the DBX286S is great if you have an XLR connected mic. You can take the XLR connector, plug it into the back of the DBX, and then the output of that can go into your audio interface. What a DBX286S? It's called a microphone preamp and processor. So the preamp essentially powers your microphone and makes it a bit louder. And then the processor part adds compression, so that kind of levels out your voice to be at a consistent volume. Then it'll do things like de-essing, so it'll knock off some of that high end that can be quite annoying sometimes, the sibilants. You've got EQ, so increasing the high for crispness, the bass for more boominess, and it also has a noise gate included, which of course will cut off any audio that falls below a certain volume level. So there it is, in showing it there. It's got loads of knobs and dials. You just tweak them as you wish. If you want to go digital, Rodecaster Pro is another option. That's a bit more than the DBX. DBX, I think, is around $150, $200. Rodecaster, as you mentioned, is about $500, $600. But it's not just a processor unit. Yes, it can do everything the DBX can do. In my head, maybe not as well as the DBX, because the DBX is a dedicated unit, whereas the Rodecaster adds a bit of processing, but it can also combine. There it is. It can combine together 4 mic sources. It's got jingle pads on to play your audio. It's got 4 headphone preamps for you and up to 3 guests. It's got phone. It's got Bluetooth. It's got USB return. It's got mix minors inbuilt. So it's really the all-in-one box that many, many podcasters are rightly turning to. So those are a couple of ideas. And yeah, I mean, you can just, there's just so much you can get really to make microphones sound good. But then of course there's the whole software world of using plugins in real time. And I think, on Mac, there's Audio Hijack and Loopback by a company called Rogue Amoeba. I think Audio Hijack allows you to take your audio from your audio interface and run it through audio plugins in real time. So you can do that kind of stuff. And I just seen actually Chris Moody has said, what about the Scarlett Focusrite 2i2? There's an excellent, very popular audio interface. Doesn't do any of the processing stuff, making you sound better, but it does convert your signal from analog to digital, which is what you'll need with an XLR mic. Yeah,
definitely. I've got one of those somewhere. I don't know where it's gone. I'm not gonna try and find it because I'll probably knock something over. Oh, here we go. It's over here.
Show them.
There we go. So this is the Scarlett Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. This is one of the problems with the Canon M50. The focus is not very good. It's quite ironic. Focusrite, but I can't focus on it. But yeah, this is great. And so you can plug an XLR microphone into this and then into your computer. So they're great. But this doesn't allow you to do any processing on your voice. So you if you want to do any of that kind of stuff, you'd either do that on a software point of view, or Rodecaster or the DBX or something like that.
That is true, although I believe you've just shown the 3rd generation model there, and it does have a button on it called Air. Have a little look there. It's got a button that says Air on it.
What does that do? I never noticed that before.
It adds air to your voice. Sends it into the clouds. It basically, in my experience, it just makes it a little crisper, a little brighter. It's basically like just turning the treble knob up just a little bit. So yeah, I mean, that is a bonus, but only of the 3rd generation Scarlett 2i2 from Focusrite.
Well, there you go. See, look, Mike knows everything. I never knew that.
Not everything, no.
No, but yeah. So that's a great question. Thank you for that. So I can see we've got a question from is it DLL Nez Fraser? I'll come back to your question in a second. But we've got this from Jason saying, using the Audio Technica ATR 2100X for recording my podcast without any interface, what would you suggest for a beginner?
So in terms of microphones, I think the Audio-Technica ATR 2100X is fairly okay to get started. That's the next generation of the ATR 2100, which I've got, and that's the stick mic, isn't it? It looks like a karaoke microphone or a stage microphone. And then Audio-Technica realized, oh my goodness, lots of podcasters are buying this. Let's upgrade it and give it a different color and add X to the end of the bottom number. And it's done really well. I've used it, I've tested it, I've tried it out, and definitely the audio quality is not as great as more expensive mics. So it very much is an entry-level microphone. So for a beginner, if you want to sound good and stick with USB, you might want, someone earlier on in the comments I noticed mentioned the Rode NT Mini, which is a good USB microphone. So is the Bayer Dynamic Fox. That, in my opinion, is an excellent USB microphone. If you want my personal opinion there, Bayer Dynamic Fox. But also there's the Blue Yeti, which is perfectly capable as well.
So what was so let me just type in that in the comments. So how do you spell that? B-E...
Oh, I can do the focus thingy. Hang on. You spell it. Oh no, hang on. It doesn't. Does it have? Oh, yeah. Bayer BEYER DYNAMIC. There you go. It's the same people who make my headphones, which I really like.
I got the Bayer, and then the next bit, the DM.
Dynamic, as in dynamic. D-Y-N. Yeah, dynamic.
There we go. I'll put that in the comments just so that you've all got that. Cool. Okay. So that's microphones. We've talked about microphones. We've talked about other gear as well. Do you want to briefly just tell us the difference between a dynamic microphone and a condenser microphone? And should the majority of us go with a dynamic microphone? You mentioned the Blue Yeti, but I believe that is not a dynamic microphone. So you can maybe help us navigate around the waters of dynamic and condenser microphones?
Yes, it is a minefield. Dynamic in general tends to have a tighter pickup. So if you're in a room that might have some acoustic problems, you might want to go for dynamic. A lot of companies are making them now. I think Samsung most recently came out with a new dynamic mic. Heil have been very traditional for working in dynamic microphones. In fact, I think Bob Heil has actually previously said that he really does not like condenser mics at all. So I don't think Heil Sound make condenser mics. So dynamic mics are very good for most podcasters who want to sound good and have like a very close proximity microphone. Condenser mics, they tend to sound just a little bit better, but they pick up more noise around. So if you're in a noisy environment or not a very well sound treated area, then you might want to steer away from condensers. But in the long run, condenser microphones are going to sound better. Dr. Elo says Shure MV7, which is the new version of the SM7B with an XLR and USB connector. Yeah, it's very good. I like that one. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of juggle it up. But one of the most important things I think to look out for is what is the pickup pattern of the microphone. What I mean by that is some microphones will be cardioid, which is like a heart-shaped pickup, which is what this one has. Some will be super cardioid, which is like just this, which is very close pickup. And some will be like omnidirectional, like the Blue Yeti. Like I think they should change this in the future because they have a knob that changes the pickup patterns. Most people get confused and don't know what setting to put it on. So, if it's on omnidirectional, it means the microphone is picking up audio all around it. So all the echo and noise in the room will be picked up. Whereas you want to really be in cardioid, super cardioid mode to sound your best.
Thanks for those tips. Really important. And that's one of the things with the Blue Yeti. I normally have my Blue Yeti here, but I think Helen, my wife, has nabbed it for her Zoom meeting earlier on today. And it's a great microphone, but I think so many people use it incorrectly. And they either put the gain up and put it too far away. So it kind of, it picks everything else up, including your tapping on the desk and on the keyboard. And as you say, the pattern, it's really cool. It's one of the cool things about the Blue Yeti. You can change the pattern, but a lot of people have no idea what it is. And so they're going to, put it so it's picking up everything, including the kids downstairs watching Netflix and all that kind of stuff.
You bet.
Yeah, which you don't want. My living room live is saying, what's this about? As musicians, we use the tried and true Shure SM57 dynamic mic for vocals. Awesome. Yeah, I've used it's the SM50. Is it the SM58 I've probably used? There's an SM58, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah, I think they're quite similar. The handheld stage mics. They're traditional for bashing them against the wall and still working, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's she's corrected that, the Shure SM58 for vocals. Yes, I've used that. And the thing about those is that you can drop them. I mean, I wouldn't advise it, and they survive. Quite rugged, which is great. So yeah, I mean, I would say, find out first of all, you need to work out what your budget is, but also think about your what you can afford now. And maybe, obviously, as over time, you can add extra bits. So if you go for a microphone that maybe is USB for the time being, but also has XLR, you can then get your mixer later and your processor, your preprocessor, and all the other stuff, and then upgrade your camera. And it's never ending. It's just never ending. What's the next piece of kit you're going to get, Mike? Is it upgrading your capture cards, or is it something else more exciting?
Oh my goodness. Gosh, there's lots of equipment that I'm into at the moment. I'm just trying to think about the next piece that I'd like to get. As you can probably tell, I'm quite a fan of LED lights. I just find LED lights fascinating. So nothing to do with audio, but everything to do with visuals. And it hasn't helped that the last couple of days, well, certainly where I am in the UK, has been Amazon Prime Day. And they got all the LifeX and the Hue strips and everything on offer. And I'm like, I don't need any more LEDs in my life, but I'm sure I can find somewhere to put them. A little aside there. Yeah.
Oh, dear, I know. I bought 6 Philips Hue bulbs yesterday for the new house, because they were half price. Like,
So yes, you mentioned, we are going off topic, but you mentioned that you're getting into the Philips Hue ecosystem. How are you finding it?
Oh, it's great. It's great. I always found them I just thought they were offensively expensive. And then when you get them in a deal like that, you think, oh, go on. And they're really cool. And we have we have the sunrise effects in the morning, and there's even an app. So we are completely digressing here, but there's a thunderstorm app. I don't know if you've come across that.
I haven't tried that.
And it has the thunder sounds, and the whole house kind of has these blue flashes, and it's great fun.
Oh, I have to get that.
It's great. Awesome. Now, I saw a question before, and I'm so sorry. I saw the question. I said I would come back to you, and I never did. Slap me on the face. So, this is from, is it Dialnez Frazier? Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Just hopped on. I need to upgrade from streaming from my iPad to a camera. I'm using Restream. Any suggestions? So you've used, presumably Facebook Live or something like that on your iPad, and you're wanting to use a camera connected to your computer. What would you say? I know we're talking about audio, but since we've digressed, we can talk about this as well. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned very well earlier, I think, the Logitech Brio is a good 4K webcam. Also, traditionally, if you're streaming in 1080p, the Logitech C920 has been pretty decent. But yeah, I think, as I mentioned earlier on, I'm using Sony Alpha cameras. The 6300 is what you're watching me on here. I'm also using the 6400 over there. And we've got a 6100 as well, and they are really good. I really like them.
Yeah, love them. I'm very jealous, but you don't have to start off with that. I think I don't know about you, Mike, but I mean, I certainly started off with the Logitech C920. I used it for many, many years. It was absolutely fine. I didn't really get on with the Brio. I had some technical problems with the Brio, but it might have just been my one of it. And then, so it just depends on your budget. Start off with something that you can afford, and then over time, you can then upgrade. Of course, with those cameras, with the Canon cameras, you can't just plug them directly into your computer. You need a capture card, something like the Elgato Camlink or something similar to that, so that you can plug it directly in. Dr. Elo is saying Team Sony. So yeah, I'm currently Canon, but I'm probably going to be going over to Team Sony at some point. Do you say Sony or Sony, by the way? Because I had an argument with somebody recently, and
they say Sony.
Sony, yeah, they said to me, no, it's Sony. I thought,
No.
It's like GIF and GIF, isn't it? But yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Maybe it's a Japanese company. Maybe we need to actually find some of their corporate content from Japan and see how they pronounce it in Japanese, and then maybe it's going to be corrected.
Maybe. I don't know. Elo says, Lol, sorry, Ian. It's perfectly fine. It's on the list. It's on the list. It's just we're moving house, and the number of things that are on our list that we have to now get, and all the tech. Apparently, according to Helen, my wife, the tech is lower priority. Well, that's, I don't know.
Yes, that's fair. You probably happy life. So come on, you got to.
Exactly. My living room live says we have the C920 and C930E for our main cams and built-in laptop webcam for a third view. Why not? I think they're great cameras. And over time you could add extra cameras. You could get the Brio and then something else later. But I think it's great that you got those different camera angles, and I love the way Mike can kind of change those as well, which is great because well, why not? Why not? So we're coming towards the end of the show, but we've talked a lot about tech, that's kind of what we were going to talk about on the show. But is there anything else that we can do in terms of our voice and I don't know whether it's to do with vocal health or how should we sit, should we stand? I mean, you've got an amazing voice. It's just very resonant and stuff like that. I'm sure maybe you were born with it, but is there anything that you particularly think about doing when it comes to using your voice on your shows? And of course, you do a lot of voiceover work as well. So have you got any tips when it comes to that?
Well, definitely, I agree. I think standing up is one of the key things that you can do because it kind of, from what I understand, it opens the diaphragm and everything sounds more energetic. So, with your new standing desk in, you'll have no excuses for you can stand up, you can do your stream, you can be it, and you already are very energetic. So I think that will just take it up a notch. And so that's always good. Look after what you eat as well. We touched on fitness at the start of the show. I think that's really important, not just for sounding good, but also for mental health as well. Many of us as content creators, we're sitting confined in shoebox-sized rooms for many hours in the dark, usually with artificial white lights shining in our eyes. So do make sure to exercise and to get outside and have fresh air. Those would be my tips, and just have a good life. Make time for other things as well, so that you can be the best you are when the camera goes on and the lights fire up and you're on. So
thanks, Mike. Or when the camera goes off, which is what happened to mine. Did you notice that my camera had gone off before? Was I static?
When it cut back to you, you were static for a second, and now you're back. You're on a different camera though. It's like your camera switched.
So I'm actually using my FaceTime camera because if I swap to what a view with that is. That's lovely, isn't it?
Oh my goodness.
So there's that. So unfortunately, right at the end, this is why I need the Sony. Okay, so Dr. Elo, you are right. It needs to go top of the priority list. But this is my inbuilt FaceTime camera on my MacBook Pro. The difference is quite considerable, isn't it?
It's a good comparison. I mean, absolutely. There is no competition there. It's
so there is that. Or the other option is, let's see if I can do this. Where's the button? No, it's this button, isn't it? This is, right, I'm going to put my phone up here and I'm going to switch. Is that going to work? No, it's not going to work, is it? Hold on. No. That's typical, isn't it? That was supposed to be Epoch Cam, but it's decided not to work. Anyway, there we go. Epoch Cam is something you can download to your phone, and it allows you to use your phone's camera as one when it works.
Yeah.
Well, just to say thank you so much for everyone watching. Dr. Elo is saying, the show has been great. I'm not an audiophile, but appreciate whatever I can learn about audio. Jason is saying, great show, guys. Really appreciate your time and effort. Thank you so much. So, Mike, how can people find out more about you? You've obviously got your awesome YouTube channel, and you can tell us about your Friday show, because that is always awesome. I've not been able to catch it the last few weeks because of, well, a few other things that I've been doing, but I can't wait to get back into it. It's always so fun watching your Friday show. So tell us a bit more about it.
Well, thank you so much, Ian. Yeah, it's been a pleasure being on the show as well. So yeah, if you want to look me up and learn more about audio, just go to YouTube. It's youtube.com/music radio creative. That's youtube.com/music radio creative. Or you can just search my name on YouTube, which is Mike Russell, and then go to the channel. And on the front page of the channel, you will find a link to our weekly live stream, which is called Free Jingle Friday. We do it every week on a Friday. It's fantastic fun for those of you in the US. It's like first thing in the morning for you guys. Those of us in Europe, it's around lunchtime. And over the other side of the world, in sort of the Far East and Australasia, it's evening and late night. So come and join us and have some fun, and maybe even get a jingle made for free.
I know. Well, there you go. It's on a Friday, and you get free jingles. I don't know how you come up with the name Free Jingle Friday, but there you go. It is great fun. So do check out Mike's channel and the Friday show. It is always a lot of fun, and you've been sharing a lot about your setup, your audio, your studio setup as well, which has been great. Well, thank you, Mike. It's been great to have you on the show, but we are out of time. I can see Dr. Elo has says subbed, so you have an extra subscriber, which is awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Also, my living room, I can't say the word today. My living room live. Thank you so much for your contribution today. Don't be scared about Epoch Cam. It is great when it works. I just need to set it up. But that is it for this week. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong camera. I need to look here. I'm so used to looking at my normal camera. Apologies for my horrible camera here. But I've just realized, of course, my teleprompter with all my notes is up here. So
actually, anyway, I think it's a great example of you've got great audio still, Ian. So people are still sticking around and watching, even though the video is decreased in quality.
Oh, well, there we go. That's good. And I've actually got my printout as well. So don't just rely on your tech. So anyway, we'll leave it there. I encourage you to launch your podcast now. Not last week, not the week before, but this week. Let's do it. What are you waiting for? See you soon. Bye.
Bye.